Hey everyone, how's it going? So in this video I'm going to be telling you guys about what it's like to be a valet driver. From my experience, I work as a valet at a 4-star hotel down in Bellevue, Washington. Really enjoy the job, but for those who are considering, is this a job I want to do, I'll just get down to the pros and cons of my perspective on what it's like to be a valet driver. So we'll start with the good. The money is very good for a job, where you don't really have any marketable skills. You make $10.50 an hour, or at least I do, and then you also get tips on top of that. So it's like $11.50 to even $18 an hour. That's pretty crazy, but you can get up there. It depends on a lot of factors. So if you're just looking for a job, while you're in high school, while you're getting your college degree, you could do a lot worse than valet. In the money aspect, at least, it's pretty easy. So all you do is, park cars and deal with people. So if you can park a car and you can not be a dick, it's really not that hard. Most of the time I'm just like hanging out with people. Like there's a lot of times where you're not even doing anything, you're just like waiting for the next customer to get there. So you're just like chilling out with your friends who work there. So it's pretty easy. You get to drive lots of cars. So while I thought that I would be driving like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari every single day, which isn't really the case, I still get to drive a lot of cool cars. Like I've driven Audis, BMWs, Mercedes. I'm not gonna lie though, most of it is kind of just your Hyundai Elantra, your Honda Civic, that kind of stuff. Just like the average Joe's cars, or big SUVs like Suburban, the Ford Explorer, But you do get to drive lots of cars, and if you're interested in cars, it's pretty cool. I like having a job that caters to what I'm into, which is cars. And even though it's mostly customer service, you get to drive cars. So that's that. Pretty much all there is to it. You get a really classy atmosphere to it. So like I said, we're at a 4-star hotel, and pretty much anywhere you valet at is going to be pretty goddamn classy, because valet services are only for basically wealthy areas, wealthy establishments where they expect a wealthy clientele. So you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to walk in, it's going to be all gussied up and rich and nice, which personally I like. I like that atmosphere. It's nice. You get to do bell service. Now, this isn't going to be for all valet jobs, but personally, the valets that work at the hotel I work at also do bell service. So a bellman's basically another customer service position at a hotel, specifically. And they greet the people who are checking in, or just all the customers walking through, and they help them out with their luggage, help them out with random things. I don't know, one time I was doing bell service and someone had said, "Hey, I have some salmon, can you throw it in the freezer for me?" And I took it down in the freezer for them. So but the reason why I like this is because as bellman you get to talk to a lot of people, which I really enjoy doing. Talk to random people, meet a lot of people, and they also tip you way better than they would a valet, because I don't know what it is, but every time I've done bell service I always get $5 for what I'm doing. That's average, every single time. Whereas I'm working valet, parking people's cars, maybe 1 in 3 times somebody will give me $2. So tips are good, I can't complain about tips, but as a bellman you definitely get more. And also the last thing I enjoy is that it's not a lot of stress. There's not really, sometimes you'll get a huge rush, but all in all, it's not there's a lot of consequences if you don't work fast enough. It's I don't know, it just doesn't stress me out like other jobs have. When I worked at a grocery store, it stressed me out. When I worked at Pizza Hut, it stressed me out, because I don't know, it just felt different. So I'll get into the negatives. First con is that there's a lot of liability to it, because when people, it's a lot of trust people have to put in you to drive their cars around for them, and if you get a tiny little scratch on a car, that could be hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on how bad it is, how nice the car is. And the good thing to that though is that if that does happen to you, you don't have to pay a lot of money for it. They'll just fire you basically. If you could totally crash a car and they wouldn't fine you for it, but they would probably fire you. and that's good because I'd rather just be fired than pay the money. But you know, if you're really leaning on this job for money, keep in mind the job security might not be super great, simply because, you know, a tiny slip up. If you made a tiny slip up at another job, you'd probably get a lot less, you know, consequences for it than if you made a tiny slip off as a valet. So just keep that in mind. Another thing is that it's a bit redundant. You know, after you've climbed up and down the stairs, you know, get in a car, and you're just doing that over and over countless times throughout a day. I'm not gonna lie, it gets pretty redundant, but you know, with all jobs like in this class, in this wage range, I guess you could say, you're pretty much gonna find that. So another thing is it's pretty hard on the body. So like I said, climbing up and down stairs. Luckily where I work, you get to take the elevator up, but you know, if you're climbing up and down stairs, which a lot of places do that, it can be really hard on your knees, your ankles, you know, your legs, like just your entire body. And I mean, it's good cardio, don't get me wrong. Like, I should have put in the pros to get exercise, but you know, doing that day in and day out, you know, if you're working a lot of hours, you might have problems with that later in life. You know, it might catch up to you. So definitely something to keep in mind. Another thing I don't necessarily care for is pooling the tips. Now, this depends on where you work, but where I work, every time you get a tip from a customer, you got to put it into a big pool. And at the end of your shift, your cut of the pool is distributed to you, and the idea being everybody gets an equal share of the work. Now, I do like this from a management standpoint because it doesn't seem that, like, you know, it makes it so that everyone's, you know, focused on the bigger picture and what needs to get done rather than the jobs that make the most money. So let's say, you know, you got two people, one of them says, you know, bring a car from the garage, and one of them is tasked with bringing a car down from the garage. Well, bringing a car up usually always gets you more money because that's when people tip, is when you bring it up for them. So, you know, you don't have people fighting over that, you just have people working and doing their job, which is what management wants. Now, on the flip side of that, why I don't like it is because there's people that, you know, don't really, how should I say this? They don't really do the right thing and put their tips in the pool. They'll just pocket the tips, and then since they don't get caught, they get their cut of the pool and they get the tips that they pocketed, and they screw everyone else over. Now, I haven't seen that happen. I haven't caught anyone do that, but I mean, it's really so easy to do. It would be pretty goddamn unrealistic to think that nobody's done that where I work. Another thing, two other things that not specific to valet but are present in valet. And that's lazy coworkers, so people that just don't really do anything and sit around. And the fact that sometimes it's really goddamn slow. Like, I mean, like on Christmas Eve when I worked, there was like 10 cars that came in throughout my 8 or so hour shift, and that got really boring. I was bored to tears, man. I was just sitting there, and you can only bullshit around with your coworkers for so long before it's like, please just like let me leave. But overall, valet, I think, in my opinion, one of the best jobs you can have if you don't have any marketable skills, like a college degree, or, you know, just any of that stuff that could perhaps give you a better job, like knowledge in computers and coding. So, you know, if you're just doing it for a while, you know, just to pay the bills or to make some extra money while you're living with your parents, or, you know, that kind of stuff, I definitely recommend it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you use the knowledge you've taken from it to influence your decisions in the future or to educate yourself. That being said, bye-bye.